Tucson TRT Research, and I just have to disclose when I call other states that my office records incoming and outgoing calls, kind of like cops do whenever you call them. But anyways, I was trying to obtain.
Who do you work for?
Tucson TRT. I'm a research department. I'm an investigative journalist.
Tucson TRC. What is that?
That is the Tucson Tyranny Response Team.
Tyranny?
Tyranny.
Oh, okay, like in bad government kind of thing?
You hit the nail on the head. However, we are not anti-government or anti-crooked law enforcement. We are, I guess you could say,
anti-crooked law enforcement.
I mean, anti-law enforcement. We are anti-crooked law enforcement. If they don't abide by the policies or rights, then we get upset and we'll try to film them or something. But no, my concern is I was trying to obtain portions of the Calea manual from the local Tucson Police Department down here in Arizona.
Yeah.
And they told me I could come in and review it, but that I wasn't allowed to copy it. And I didn't want to copy the whole thing, only probably portions of it for research involving internal affairs complaints and investigative journalism. And I am aware that there are certain fair use clauses that makes this allowable. However, the gal I just spoke with, I think her name was Pat, told me that they might have signed some kind of agreement that they won't let anybody copy it when they got the book from you guys. And I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I do have one of their internal affairs personnel telling me that it is in fact public record, and someone else telling me down there at their department that they don't think it is public record, but I can come review it. See, but the fact is, if it wasn't public record, they wouldn't let me review it even. Anyways, I do know that they have at the local Tucson Police Department not taken anonymous complaints, and that your Calea manual has a certain standard in there that they're supposed to be in harmony with their policies and your manual and take anonymous complaints, and there's kind of cover-up thing going on down here with the Tucson Police Department in several aspects. Anyways, I just want to know what's your guys' company's corporation's position and standpoint to making partial copies of pages for research and educational purposes under the fair use clause found within the copyright laws.
Well, I think you've got a good understanding of it. The fair use permits that.
It does permit that?
Sure, it's fair use of the copyright. Now, what we're talking about, the agency doesn't necessarily know that, Bert. I mean, here's people that they're not involved with copyright, and I assume they're trying to do the right thing. We do let people. One of our things, you're supposed to show people the standards. We have no problem if somebody needs to copy limited portions,
right,
for legitimate reasons.
Not the whole manual for resale, but for limited portions for research is acceptable.
We'll take people who say, well, how much do we want to cut? Well, you want to copy more than half? Well, that seems to be getting out of the scope of where we're at. But hell, if you give me your email address and tell me what standards you want, I'll just send it to you.
Well, see, I'm not sure which parts I want. I really need to sit down and read the whole. I was attempting to order a manual right now to bypass and circumvent all their Mickey Mouse stuff down at the department. But the gal Pat, I believe her name was, told me that the lady is not in that does the ordering or something of that nature till the 22nd.
I don't know depends how quick you want it. We're getting ready to go to a conference. We have got one in Garden Grove. As a matter of fact, I'm leaving this afternoon, and I won't be back for over a week, until maybe around Thanksgiving or something like that. So I got to be there on Sunday. This lady's going to be leaving on Monday. She is probably working from home today, but they've got people that do it. If you want it real quick, it may be a little bit of a problem, but you can order the thing online. I don't know what it is, $45, get the whole thing, and somebody will ship it out. If you know what sections you want, relatively limited, I'll send them to you.
Yeah, well,
investigation of complaints.
Pardon me?
You're talking about investigating complaints?
Yes, I have some of my own.
You're talking about internal affairs. Hang on just a second.
Yes, sir.
Let me get the monster out here and look at it. Internal affairs, I think it's chapter 52. And, 52. Written directives requires all complaints to be investigated, including anonymous complaints. Maintain a record of complaints. responsible for complaints.
So their practices have to be in harmony with your manual, and their procedures are kind of set up to mirror your manual standards.
Basically, there are some that are other than manual, other than mandatory. Not too many of them. But basically, they have to be in compliance with 80% of those other ones, and they can't be in conflict with them. Different people address them to different degrees. Some people are very tight on them, and some people expand them a lot. They want to include a lot more into it. Some people play a little closer to the vest and try and get away with it. I'm going to say the minimum I have to do to be in compliance. It's like doing your homework for college. How much do I have to do to get a passing grade? And somebody else just really gets into it, and they're looking for an A plus, and they go to town on it. But I think what you're looking at is Chapter 52, the complaint procedures.
Yeah. You see, because they straight up told me they don't take anonymous complaints, and that's
a violation of the.
I know, and then they wrote that there's in my internal affairs complaint there's no law violations, policy violations, and then I talked to a lieutenant who told me, oh, that's already been rectified. Well, if nothing's wrong, what's been rectified? And they're really covering up down there. I can't stand this the way they treat me.
we get some places where they've got strong police unions. And some states have this. They call it the Police Officer Bill of Rights, or some form of it. And basically, it gives the police officers more protection than the citizens that they serve.
I've already experienced that.
So what they'll say is, well, that we're not required to take an anonymous complaint. Sometimes it's even in the union contracts. But so we sit back and we say to somebody, so if somebody calls up the police department and says anonymously, there's a police officer involved in some kind of improper activity. Maybe he's at the back of a bar and you think he's in there drinking, or maybe he's involved, with gangs or prostitution or drugs or taking kickbacks. You're not going to look at this. You're just going to ignore that. And that's ridiculous. Even if you say that we think the guy is sleeping or the guy is driving through stop signs without coming to a stop, any reasonable person, would have to do at least some kind of preliminary inquiry to see if there's some kind of basis to it. And that's where that kind of stuff is crazy.
What would be in your manual about them doing thorough investigations? Say if someone launched an internal affairs complaint, and like me, and specifically reserve the right to add more supplemental information, be interviewed after their investigation started, and have witnesses interviewed, and then there was no callback and the case was closed. Is there something in there about doing thorough investigations instead of partial ones?
Well, it depends how you want to read it. I don't think it's going to say exactly that. but you have an investigation it's got to be credible on its face. I mean, most police investigations, you run an investigation to some kind of logical point. I mean, there's a point where you give up an investigation, and there's a point where you keep going with an investigation, and sometimes the facts are the same in each one, and sometimes the facts are different. How much I was a police officer in Ohio, and the ATF calls up, and they said they got a complaint on me that I wasn't investigating their bombing. And the feds wanted to know what the heck the deal was to get involved in it. I said, I'll tell you what it is. This guy's bombing. Somebody blew up his mailbox, the firecracker.
Yeah.
And I said, when I find out who blew up my mailbox with a firecracker, I'll work on his case. See, so I mean, there's a point. How far do you go with somebody throwing M80s in a friggin' mailbox versus somebody who took a bomb and tossed it inside of a closed church? There's a heck of a lot of difference. Or you have somebody say that your cop is running through stop signs in one of the shifts, and you go to that shift, and you have the supervisor say, listen, we're getting these complaints, and we're going to be watching for. We have these kind of complaints, and we don't know if they're true or not, or somebody just got a bad attitude, or somebody's just it's just too big of a hurry. But fellas, if you're not going to stop for the stop sign, turn the overhead light on.
Right.
Most of the public that understands I'm on a call. Get there, flip the light on for a couple of seconds, and turn it down. But so I mean, you follow that to the logical point. It's what a reasonable person does, and police officers investigate. And you investigate, and you realize sometimes this can't go any farther, you know what I mean, for what we have, or the seriousness involved in it, or sometimes it looks like there may be something here, and I'm obligated to carry this thing farther. So what I think I can do, if you want to order the book, you can do that. But what I can also do, if you send me your email, I will copy you the is Chapter 52, which is the one I think that is primarily concerns what you want to do.
Okay, I'm bringing up my email now. Compose mail. Let me get an email address and I'll shoot you something over.
Yeah, okay. It's real easy. It's J, like in Jim, okay? J Brown, BROWN.
Okay.
At Calea, CALEA .org.
.org.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, this is great, and I really appreciate it. And I kind of think since they're being real protective of their manual down there, they might be violating the public records law that says any person, anytime, under ARS 39121, can obtain, can review and or copy public records. And I know what we're talking about, not the whole manual, just portions for research.
No, we understand, but I don't want to criticize the agency on that. This is copyrighted. We kind of stress that to folks because everybody takes our stuff and treats it like it's public, and this is the only way we can stay in business. So if everybody just hands it out, we want people to be able to use it as a guide. It's like the National Fire Code.
Right.
That's done by the insurance companies, and it's there. But you buy those, even though it's referenced by all the governments. You know, you're going to use the National Fire Protection Code, whatever it is. You know, you got to buy it from these guys because it takes staff time to develop the standards and print the books and all this.
I absolutely understand your point there.
I don't fault them on that. Most of the people don't understand what fair use is and copyright. They just think I'm not allowed to do that. You know, you go to libraries and they put up all kind of signs.
Well, I actually have one of their city attorneys telling me that they don't think it's public record and they're not going to let me copy it.
Yeah.
So I put in a written records request and said, and put it in writing. I need to know your position exactly on my position.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that. They're trying to be careful, and I don't know if it's public record or not. We often tell some cities to do, well, most of them don't. Buy a copy and put it in the library.
Right, and I was gonna.
Then there's no problem. I mean, just
right. And I've checked our local Pima County Law Library and the other law library for the county, and they don't have one.
No, most of them don't do it. But that's the answer.
I almost was considering buying two of them to put one in the library because here's the deal in the gray area. They don't want to give it out. They'll let me review it. They won't let me copy it. How can someone check the manual to see if their procedures are in harmony with the manual if they're trying to act like it's a secret manual?
That's correct.
And so it's kind of sick that someone wants to double check themselves and they're not allowed to. I mean, on another note, but I understand your note. Yes, you guys put money, time, and all that, but portions are allowed, and I feel like I'm stupid when they're telling me I'm not allowed when I'm telling them, but I know what Title 17 says. I've been in and out of it. I'm a researcher.
Yeah, but see, the average guy in the public doesn't know that.
I know, and when
they don't understand all this stuff. They don't know the difference between a trademark and a copyright. You know what I mean?
And what I'm finding out is the average TPD guy down there is also unaware of Title 17.
You know, people get confused with patents. The whole thing. You know.
Right.
So,
well, life is interesting and confusing, and that's just part of our nature of living here.
Your stuff hasn't come through yet. Usually shouldn't take too long.
Okay, I'm sending this email right now. I'm going to put in the subject, what should I put? Request.
Chapter 52.
For Chapter 52. Okay.
Get the button, hold on a second, make sure it comes through. I can scan this thing, get it back to you in a few minutes.
This is going to probably help me out. And in the meantime, I'll still see what the TPD has to say, and maybe I won't have to order a manual after this.
Yeah, it might save you some money. I think most of what you want is here, because the investigative stuff doesn't get down to that low level that you say you have to do a good job. I mean, that's so far, it's like, you know, when you come to work, you know, zip up your pants and put your shoes on. I mean, at some point you got to start with an assumption that
right.
That's so low.
Well, I have experienced several different, well, I have like 5 or 6 internal affairs complaints in, and they were all whitewashed, and I very heavily articulated laws and procedures, and I just can't imagine that they'd write me back and tell me, like they did, that, oh, no violations of law and policy were found, and then when I talked to a lieutenant, they told me, oh, well, he wasn't supposed to do that, he's supposed to take anonymous complaints, and that problem's been rectified.
Yeah.
Well...
Your email just came through.
Oh, okay, that's good.
I'll get it back to you in a few minutes.
Okay, sir, I thank you for
Okay,
your
Aaron.
time there, and you go ahead and have a great day and a better tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. Same to you.
Okay, peace and respect. Good day.
Bye.
Bye. This concludes this portion of an official Tucson Tyranny Response Team documentation. This communication was with Jim Brown from the Calea Corporation that accredits the Tucson Police Department. He did indicate that it is acceptable to copy portions of their manual, and now I'm going after TPD. I want to go down and copy their manual. I don't care what they say, because now I got this guy saying it's okay. So this concludes this portion of this documentation. Today's date is November 10th, 2010. It is Wednesday. It is 9:35 a.m. Tucson, Arizona time. This concludes this documentation. End it now.